little break. Okay, good afternoon to everybody. I'm very pleased to have you here, colleagues and students. You students, next time maybe much more. This event is the final step of a journey of 5 years. The activities on circular economy and innovation themes will nevertheless go on in the following years. We are applying for new funding, and we just got a big funding, 110 million over 3 years for a project on regional innovation ecosystem, where UNIFE, University of Ferrara, leads the circular economy and blue growth work package and will work with other 5 universities in the region, University of Bologna, Parma, Modena e Reggio Emilia, Cattolica and Politecnico di Milano, National Research Council and others. We will continue investing in the research proposal in the areas of economic, social and environmental sustainability, always with a strong focus on innovation and knowledge as key of drivers of development. So I hope that this workshop, this afternoon of studies and thinking will provide thought-provoking reflection, will increase the networking of our department and interdisciplinarity. I wish you all to take advantage of this event. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Grazie.
Buon lavoro.
We also speak Italian because Burak.
Sì. Parlo italiano. Poco.
Ma buono.
Ma buono, sì.
Ciao. Okay. So, then formally starts. Have a speech of 34 minutes.
Thank you very much, Massimiliano, for inviting me. It's an honor to be here, and also first time in Ferrara, but also first time in a long time in Italy. But thanks to our collaboration, Ilaria has been in Maastricht, and then she's been teaching me some Italian. Partially, I will throw in some Italian words that I've learned. My name is Burak Can. I'm an associate professor at Maastricht University at the Department of Data Analytics and Digitalization. By training, I am actually a mathematical economist, a game theoretician. So most of my previous work has been theoretical mathematics and proving axiomatic work. However, in the last 4 or 5 years, I also delved into using the existing theoretical frameworks into more applied things. And today I'm going to talk about something that is exciting us in the last few years, that is very much applied in nature, so it won't be boring at all, I can assure you that. And although I'm a theoretician in terms of scientific background, this is the research that is extremely practical and in the field. Where do I start? So the nice thing about, that's why I called it a privilege and honor to be presenting this in this conference. This is really about how we can turn our research in an impactful way through the whole circular economy model thinking. It's a partially design thinking, but also really taking it out of the literature and then really implementing it. And throughout the whole presentation, you will feel what I mean by circular economy. The project that we've been running the last 3 years is, we could call it CO2 investigation in closed coal mines in Limburg. And to give a brief story of the situation in Limburg is the following. Limburg is one of the provinces in the Netherlands, in the southern Netherlands, where my university is also located. It's called Maastricht University. In Limburg, there is a city called Kerkrade. Excuse me. I'll just tell a bit more about this city. And then a few years ago, we were approached by the province of Limburg, and then they discussed this particular program that they have, which is the legacy of industrialization and development. And this is what we are going to talk about. I'll briefly mention about what's happened 3 years ago, and then what we have done last year, but more important, what we are thinking to do in the future, where using sustainability in the framework of all that we do, and then implementing digital solutions in a circular economy model. This project has been done in Kerkrade city, as I said. The situation is the following. This city has been one of the industrial driving engines of the region. A lot of coal mines. The city is literally like an ant mine under the earth. So there are mine shafts and tunnels, etc. They closed the operations around early 70s, late 60s. But the mine shafts are still there. Some of them are flooded. Those mine shafts were used to ventilate the mines when the workers were there. But although some of the mines were flooded, some aren't. And what's happening that the carbon dioxide and some other gases are accumulating in those mine shafts and other empty vacuum. And through small cracks and backfill and pipes, these are actually coming out to the surface, which is a problem because of the following. These coal mining operations has been going on for centuries. So the city is built on top of these mines. So it's not at a remote location. So in one instance, in 2015, a consortium did some investigation, and then they said there might be more leakage in summer and less leakage in winter, so investigate this. 3 years ago, when we were approached, I also built a social entrepreneurship company to be able to flexibly design the solution, also in terms of manufacturing, which I will also talk throughout this presentation. And we did this project, as I said, with a company that is a startup spin-off, a social entrepreneurship company that is built next to the university. And the university, research assistants and researchers. At the same time, municipalities has been supporting us, but we are individually going to the houses of the citizens and then talking to them, informing them, but also deploying the devices in their basement. Because as I said, through the cracks, we are suspecting that these gases can be leaking into the houses of the people. And I'll quickly show a video here. I don't know how will it work. Here, okay. Working? No?
Tutto servito. Un po' l'audio.
We can also skip the video and just.
Also because by home
They cannot hear me.
and also use the subtitle one for the video.
Sure. Yeah.
Fate partire il video e vediamo.
I can just explain now. And then they can hear now? Okay. So, can people also hear right now?
Now that you're speaking,
Okay.
yes, maybe if you just get closer to the mic.
Yeah, like this?
I think so, but I'm here, so I cannot.
Okay. So this is pretty much the quadruple helix approach that I was mentioning. And Julia, one of my research assistants, has also been overseeing this project. And in addition, as she mentioned, instead of buying devices from China, typically, which is what we always do, we just, okay, can we not empower ourselves by designing these or finding people who can design that and then have control over every aspect of the whole process, not only just looking at the data, but also designing the device ourselves, custom based, and getting feedback from the citizens, and eventually even choosing what kind of material we want. So, so far we have used PLA, which is theoretically biodegradable and decomposable material when we're building these enclosures with 3D printers. However, we are constantly iterating and improving. We have figured out that PLA is also not easily biodegradable and decomposable. You need industrial conditions. So now we are switching to another material called PHA, which contains no microplastic whatsoever and biodegradable in at home conditions. Like it's a material that looks like plastic, but you can put it in the soil and it will biodegrade and decompose by itself. So this is the next phase that we are going to do, which I will also talk more. Okay. So in the beginning, in 2020, right before COVID, we deployed, in 2019 actually, we deployed 2 devices because we didn't think that this would really, the story that Julia told in the video, we didn't really think it would be that much of a problem. We chose 2 houses. One house is built on top of an old mine shaft. A mine shaft is a long tube that provided air to the miners at the time, but it was closed and you couldn't see it from outside walking in the street. But the municipality knew the location, so they said, please test at this location. So we put one of these devices in the basement, and we put another device for just control purposes in another house. And we call them control and test. And you see on the map points of other mine locations, major mine locations, which are all closed. And most of these mine locations are also, these are the gates to the mines in themselves. There are also probably multiple mine shafts in the region. The challenge for the municipality is the following: they have been doing mining for really centuries. So this was before Google Maps was invented. So they do not know precisely where those mine shafts are. Some of them are, drawn on goat skin, a historical map, and then the church on the map doesn't exist anymore, such kind of challenges. And in this particular house, as was in the video, we measured carbon dioxide, but also temperature, humidity, atmospheric pressure, even light and particulate matter, to see the interaction of different atmospheric readings in the amount of leakage. So here is a graph which says it should be about less than 600 in a regular household, and 600, 1000 ppm, particle per meter cube. And above 1000, it is actually health impacting. And there are some long-term effects. Now, what you see in this graph, the numbers are not that visible, but on the upper part, you see the atmospheric air pressure in the basement of this test house, and below you see the carbon dioxide readings. And you see the red lines actually start jumping around certain times. And it's already obvious from this image that there is a relation between the air pressure and the carbon dioxide that is leaked into the house. The peaks, the numbers are not visible, but the peaks are about 5,000. So as was described, like in a nightclub, in a small basement. So, of course, carbon dioxide is not as dangerous as toxic or poisonous, like CH4 or etc.
However, long-term exposure to carbon dioxide is slowly suffocating yourself by using a plastic bag or so. I mean, it's not probably fun. And it's still okay because it is in the basement, you might say, but the architecture in the Netherlands is most of the time the basements are used by men to fix stuff, like a man's cave. So women are safe maybe, but men are not if they are using it for extended period of time, say 2 hours. This has long-term effects. So in 2020, during the midst of COVID, we just sat down together with different stakeholders, multiple municipalities, Kerkrade, Heerlen, Landgraaf, and Heerlen, I read, yeah. And the province as the overseer of these municipalities, and our department. And then we started that we scale up this project with multiple houses and try to find other locations that has the leakages. And then, as I said, this was done under a quadruple helix approach. So we deployed, analyzed the data, and even went beyond our task and then provided some solutions because it was easy to do, and then why not? I'll briefly talk about the deployment and the analytical aspects. So multiple locations were decided in collaboration with the municipality. They suggested, okay, this location also has a close-by mine shaft. This location is right on top of a mine shaft, etc. And in the meantime, we created the dashboards for each sensor, showing the data in a visual manner for each individual. The users also had a mobile application, and they could see different data either daily or monthly or weekly, and they would also get notifications for their for the values that are risky. In this, it's the visual from the mobile app that we use. And the nice thing that we had was that we could redesign the apps on the spot. So when we went to the residents of the houses we deployed, we asked them, do you like it the way it looks? And then some of them said, yeah, I actually also want to see, can I also see the temperature? Can I also see the humidity? So, okay, then we could just immediately, in the house while we were there, we could adapt thanks to the mobile platform we were using. And then we could immediately change the structure of the app, as you see, which could give more information based on the demand of the resident. And during the project, there was an urgent issue of CH4, which was an flammable gas, it just burns. And then they found out that one of the regions were leaking CH4, then they asked us, is it possible that you also add sensor that measures CH4? So here's a small demonstration. If you see it, the gas, when you leak the gas, it immediately turns red. So it's just a demonstration. This is my stove where I cook. But the reason I'm showing you this is that because we had the full control over the hardware and the software, we could immediately implement additional things on the go. It's just that we needed additional sensor, and the design of these circuitry was, etc., also pretty flexible. And that's what we incorporated where necessary. And in terms of analytics, we just looked at different regions. And this is the upper part of province of Limburg, where you have old coal mining, Helene on the western part, but on the right you see Kerkrade with Domeniale and Willem Sophia. These are all princes or queens or kings in the Dutch dynasty. They named them after, they named the mines after them. And what we did, we also used the data we gathered in our courses for data analytics or predictive analytics. And then we teach machine learning and artificial intelligence by using real life data so that the students are also not exposed to this technical knowledge via some business case from a company, but also from an environmental perspective. That they actually see something and then they learn the techniques using real life data from this environmental analytics. 6 students wrote their thesis on the projects, some of which I will just talk briefly in the coming minutes. And in total, 25 different reports were written as a case study from students. What we found out was that we can effectively predict when this leakage is going to happen in this house. As I said a few minutes ago, you already visually sense what's going on. Upper part is the air pressure in the basement. It is identical to the atmospheric air pressure outside in the city, which you can see on your iPhone if you look at weather information, etc. And the lower part is the CO2 sensor. What happens is that as the pressure gets lower and lower, the frequency of leakages actually increases. It is analogous to having a wound and bleeding. If you put pressure on the wound, it stops bleeding, but as soon as you take off the pressure, it starts bleeding more. So when we found this out, okay, the problem is that there is a leakage, there's a crack here, and as soon as the air pressure goes down, this will leak more to a dangerous level. And it is fine, and we can predict it with very high accuracy. But the next question is, but how does this affect the rest of the house? Whether it affects the living room, whether it goes all the way to the street. According to research, the CO2 disperses very fast, which is good news in the sense that as soon as you get 10 meters away from the center of the leakage, it's almost nothing. It immediately disappears because it just evaporates or it just disperses very fast. And we have tested this also by putting additional sensor in the living room and in the garage, etc. We found that it is not a problem in the living room, so it was safe. Still, we wanted to solve the problem in the basement. And then something extraordinary happened when we were doing this research, and that is the flood. Last year, summer, you might remember a part of Germany, which is actually on the border of Maastricht and Limburg, and part of Belgium, but also Limburg was affected tremendously by the flood that happened in late July, if I'm not mistaken. I'm skipping this part. So we have not found any other location yet, which is, well, scientifically it is a bit disappointing because you would want to play a bit more with the data, but in terms of the health, it's actually great that we couldn't find any. I am only going to show the accuracy level that we have acquired with our predictive algorithm is 93%, and in some other techniques we even achieve 96% accuracy. So we know when it's gonna leak. I'll tell the flood later, but first what we also tried as a solution to this problem. So in April, 1.5 years ago, we decided that, okay, this is leaking, we know, we can predict when it's gonna leak, but can we also not solve it? So there is a lot of research. The seminal work on absorption of carbon dioxide comes from NASA, actually, strangely. The reason being, it's until 4:15. I want to make time for questions too. The reason being NASA was investigating and playing around, can we create in our space shuttles an environment where we only use plants to release oxygen and absorb the excess carbon dioxide from the space station so that we can generate a sustainable ecosystem out there in space without additional oxygen tubes or other gases. So there are a lot of plants that have been investigated. We have chosen Ficus elastica. It's also known as rubber plant. So this plant is not the best in absorbing carbon dioxide, but it is also very resilient. It requires little to no attention, and it is very powerful, and it's very cheap, which is a criteria in the Netherlands. So we went for a very cheap, very effective plant. We just put those plants because they were better performing in the temperatures that we are accustomed to. I'll quickly show you these plants. You see on these photos the sensor itself and some photos of the plants. They are very big, and we put about 4 or 5 of those rubber plants in the leaking house. And immediately, as soon as we planted them, remember this is a basement, there is no sunlight, etc. We were thinking this is not going to survive. But the effect was very interesting. On the left, you see a violent plot of all the data points. The leakages are rarely happening on the left as well. But this is the data before the plants, and as soon as we put the plants, if you notice, all the data points are pushed down, and then the thick values are happening at the bottom more. This meant the following: we had less leakage, but also when it leaked, the dangerous levels were also pulled down by a simple solution of putting plants into this location. And during the daylight, the effect was amplified because there is a small window in the basement and then some light comes in. But it is, after all, not Italy, it's the Netherlands, and the sun is not taken for granted. Still, we were very happy that these plants did a good job. And the other thing we tried, as I said, the flood. During the flood, we were lucky enough to have our sensors in place. And then we said, okay, what do we see different during the flood in that region? Because that region was also affected by flood. Some people died and some houses had to be evacuated, etc. in the region. So this is pretty much the structure of what's happening. If there is a flood, it pushes the water levels. You see the mine shafts vertical. And what happens if there is flood? The water is going down so much that the water level in the mine shafts increase, and there is less space in the mine shaft, which pushes the gases out to the surface. And on the surface, there is the house of René. Now we are friends after all those visits. So, and then we wanted to see if this was really the case. And then, let me just briefly mention what additional things we used. We combined the data that we have from the sensors during the flood, but we also got data from Germany, which is close by, the Rhine River and the river levels from Germany, and then the stream water level, and also ground and mine water level data, which is daily from the Dutch Water Management Institute. So we pulled together a lot of data, also used the weather data from Weather Underground. And then in the end, we've seen this picture. To summarize this picture, you see 3 colors on the left. Before the flood, it's just orange. But all of a sudden, you see towards the end of this orange graph, there is something different happening in the data. That is the following. It started raining towards the end of that orange thing, and because the rain already started filling in the mine shaft, we already have seen some increase in the frequency of gas leakages, but also the peaks are much higher as opposed to the peaks in the previous months. And then afterwards we have the red part where it really became flooded, and it's also very bad. And even after the flood was finished, the blue part, the leakage still continued to happen in this house, the carbon dioxide leakage. So what we did, we played around with the idea of whether we could predict also flood, which is a bit long shot, but still it was an interesting exercise. I hope we do not see floods again, but my humble opinion is that we will see more and more floods. So that's a reality of the climate change. And when it happens, we will be able to collect more data and know more so that we can be able to, so that we can actually predict when to evacuate a house. The consequences of a good predictive algorithm is enormous for the insurance industry, but also, you know, social impact of it is amazing. If you can warn people 2 hours in advance, it's gonna go south just leave your houses. That's a tremendous impact. And in the future, we are now contemplating about trying different digital techniques and tools to enhance the experience of citizens, but also enhance the understanding that we have about the region. And some of these things that we try are a physical 3D map of the region by producing this 3D map and putting LED lights on the locations we have sensors, and then putting it in the municipality so that municipality can have full visual, a physical control and vision of what's going on in their city in terms of leakages. And then the LED lights can change color based on how good the air quality in the basements are. Another thing we actually want to try in the coming year is using augmented reality. And by using augmented reality, we can put the image and the sensor data on the same image like that, a small video with some visuals. So we can generate the image of a city, of the city of Kerkrade, and put the numbers like carbon dioxide values on top of the locations, and a user can simply look at their phones over a table or wear some virtual reality goggles and then see it all around, live data coming from 50 different houses, which is what we are going to do next. So this is another possibility that digitalization actually offers us. The other ideas that we are thinking to do is the more nature-based part. As we have already explored, the plants help tremendously. Now, next step is, okay, we know plants consume carbon dioxide. They do photosynthesis, they produce oxygen, which is great for this place, but it needs good light, certain temperature, etc. So how can we use smart farming to absorb this carbon dioxide is the next thing. And maybe an idea is to put vertical farming inside the basement of these houses. It could even be, little strawberries or little green herbs to test different plants and then see how much carbon dioxide they capture and plus how much value that they create for the homeowner. It is a perfect solution, and now that's what we're going to try next, together with some green real estate researchers. And the additional part of the project will involve running similar experiments in the neighbors of those residents. And then you see here on the map, there are some structural risk of leakage in dark gray areas on this part. But also above here, there is less risk of leakage. We will also expand our experiments in those regions. But also, as I said, since the beginning, the province, as an overseer of the project, it's also involving stakeholders in other cities like Geleen and Heerlen. So we are also planning to exactly replicate this test in other cities in the region, which has also been industrially developed, and then they use coal mining for centuries. And we hope, as we learn more, we want to create an early warning system before these leakages happen. And then using this expertise that we already have in the predictive algorithms, with high accuracy, we implement this throughout the city, and everybody gets a message on their phone if there is a leakage expected. And possibly, though with some grain of salt, we could also extend our investigation of the flood, but the event horizon is very short, and it happens once or twice a year. To wrap up, I have some list of companies and institutes here, and this is the circular aspect of this whole project that we've done. We've used locally produced and natural biodegradable materials in our devices. So ColorFab is a company that actually works on biopolymers, and then they produce this PHA from they use some sort of organism to create these, let's call it bioplastic, but it's actually not bioplastic. I'm also not a material scientist, but all I know is that this doesn't have any microplastic. But this is a local company that is doing it in actually close to Kerkrade. And Helium Polymers is actually a sister company of ColorFab. And these are producing 3D printer materials. So we can get them, use 3D printers to print everything around the sensors as an enclosure from these. Struct is a company which does augmented reality in Maastricht. is my department. And Keske is a startup ecosystem where our spin-off is actually a member of. And these startups are not run by a managing institute, but they are a local ecosystem that decide everything together. So Keske has a building. There are about 60 startups and innovators there, and they decide even what the rent should be. They decide who should just clean the reception, who should do what kind of coffee they should buy, so on and so forth. And there are some other companies like RepRap Universe in Kerkrade, again, local. Digis Sculptors is a design company, and other stakeholders are Maastricht municipality and, as I said, province of Limburg. This is some of the partners that we have worked with throughout this project. That would be all from my side, and I would be very happy if you have questions, comments, or any remarks. And once again, thanks very much for inviting me and then listening. That's all. Just checking if it was the last slide.
I'm curious, probably I missed something in the presentation in the beginning, but this project has been financed by the municipality in order to distribute it.
No, I didn't explain it very carefully. It happened as the following. So actually, I founded the company as a spin-off. However, as I said, it's social entrepreneurship. When they asked, could you help us? I actually deployed these two devices and I didn't charge because I'm not really a businessman, more of an academician. I didn't know how to write an invoice. I said, it's two devices, this is not a big deal. So I just financed it. But then they realized that it was indeed leaking. Then the province just said, okay, you have to scale it up. We expect you to write a proposal and we expect you to tell us how much it's gonna cost. And that was the first time that, money had to get involved. In total, we asked 20,000, and I said half of that money goes to the university as a social entrepreneurship perspective. The other half covered all the costs of the material and then the design that I asked some other company to do it. This is how we did this. This was covered by, province asked it, but covered by Kerkrade municipality.
So the total cost of the project not a huge investment in this investigation.
Well, it could have been even cheaper if I knew how to do business a bit better. Yeah, but as I said, half of the money was only for the students. So if it wasn't a social entrepreneurship company, 10,000 would be enough. I have to, however, put a small note here. If I measured my hourly involvement, it would probably be above 10,000. But it's a matter of interest because I'm also a researcher and it's also research. So that was fine. Please.
Yes, it's more than curiosity. Related to I couldn't have a water. This is an excellent work also something that passed. Right? But I was wondering, is there any assessment of the magnitude of the leakage phenomenon from a macro perspective? Because at some point, this leakage observed was change. It's over a certain quantity of CO2 that is emitted in the air. So I was wondering about this, is there any kind of
Yeah.
It's like a household or it's like a company, just to get some context.
No, it's a very good question. So you're more thinking from the carbon dioxide emissions perspective, if I understand it correctly. It is very difficult to understand how many tons of CO2, how many CO2 tons equivalent that would be, because of the following. We do not know precisely, it's like a tap. All we see is water, and we see a lot of water, but we do not know how many meter cube of water is coming through that tap, because we don't know precisely where that tap is. By tap, I mean the crack. We know it's down there, but there is no way for us to count the volume of that tap that is coming. If you use gas dynamics or fluid dynamics, you can potentially measure inside that basement, check the transparency of the cement in the basement and the window opening. We did a lot of tests, but I'm not a specialist on dynamics of gases and the flow of it. So I cannot pinpoint how much kilogram or ton of CO2 is coming every year out of that mine shaft. In addition, one final thing, most of those CO2 ton equivalent calculations are extremely ad hoc. I mean, I just wanted to do it, okay, and I just check around and I just realize, oh, this is like guy would just sum up numbers. It is very ad hoc. So I don't know how to do it. Yeah. So the tap is not there. The tap is not there. And the other complexities, as I said in the beginning, they don't know some of those mine shafts. They literally have a map 300 years old. It's an illustration like a painting. There has to be church here with dragons, etc. But with that information, they are drilling. Sometimes they have to drill people's houses or gardens to find out if it is really a mine shaft or not. There are so many houses that they drilled, and it takes months to get the permission of the house owner, so on and so forth. So far, I talked to the municipality 2 weeks ago. They said they found 22 of those locations. And I'm sure there are many more. Yeah.
And also, just the concentration of the CO2 becomes dangerous when it is in a closed space, right? So if you find out that there are some leakages of CO2 all over the city, but the concentration anyway goes down because it's in open air, maybe it's not that dangerous for the climate change.
The conversion of volume to ppm is still okay, but the conversion of the CO2 kilogram to the volume of CO2 in the air is not very clear. But I noticed the following. This consortium made a project, a very big report in 2015. That's what it started. That's what started everything. They found that they measured also the carbon dioxide levels in some of those mine shafts. They just, I think, put some rope in it and then put some sensor for an hour or so. The value was, these are high values. So the value was, if I remember correctly, 15% of the volume of the air. To make a comparison, right now this should be 0.06%. And 0.06% is 600 ppm. So it's assume this is 600 ppm. Inside the mine shaft, they say it is 150,000 ppm. If I didn't make a mistake with the zeros. 150,000 ppm is it's quite high. So it's obviously not a place that you can survive unless you have been swimming for long, but you would die in 5-7 minutes. It's dangerous to go in. And we don't know what happens when this all leaks. Maybe if it all leaks and open air, etc., people may be feeling dizzy a little bit for a few days, and hopefully it all disappears. But this carbon dioxide is coming from the surface of the mine shafts, the material, the carbon, the coal that stayed there, it's leaking its gas for some reason. You were...
Yeah, it was really an interesting example of figure of aging. Transition. Which are of basic and the question I have with that is how demanding this experience was in terms of digital competencies, digital skills of the citizens in areas that the question is to which extent this experiment relies on digital skills in a certain level, to which extent is it practical to any areas where digital skills are relatively low?
I see. It's a very, very relevant question. That's again my experience. Of course, I have to ask them how you were, but I think it required almost nothing. When I say nothing, I mean if they have a phone, a smartphone where there is some application that they can download, that's basically that. And if they use WhatsApp, that's additional nicety because then I can contact them. So it didn't really require a lot from their perspective because the notifications were coming and then everything was ready-made. And we were using a platform where we can change the design of the app immediately, not like update it on the App Store, etc. So this gave us a lot of flexibility, but they had very good recommendations. The difficulty was actually not on their side, but the difficulty, for instance, one of the difficulties was, of course, everybody has internet at their home, and we need to connect these devices to internet. And most of the people are okay, but there was one incident where one of the residents says, yeah, but I don't want this device to use my internet. What if they hack this device and then they also hack my router? And I said, well, okay, it's a possibility, but nobody would really try to hack this device because it's not worth it, because the microchip itself is €2.5. There is nothing valuable, but then I understood him, and what I had to do, I had to deploy my own 3G modem in his house, totally separated from his own wireless. And I did that. But then the other problem is the internet doesn't work in the basement because it's the basement, it doesn't reach there. So I had to deploy a Wi-Fi extender, etc. So it can become a bit invasive, if you know what I mean. You're installing a router in someone's house and a Wi-Fi extender. In that particular instance, the gentleman who asked me to build a separate thing, he asked it. I said, okay, is it okay if I put a new device and an extender? He understood that it's independent from his Wi-Fi, and I did that. And that's a difficulty, to also create an internet access to everybody's houses. I mean, you have to be KPN or T-Mobile or, that's a difficulty.
Some questions. So, first of all, who developed the app? Because this is something that I have always missed. And secondly, what is, in your opinion, the importance of realizing a big net or using the digital resolution? So these are my two.
You mean the augmented reality version or just a real physical map? First question, the mobile app that we have used is actually one of the companies which has a drag and drop design for app development using sensors. It's called Blink. So this company lets you connect your IoT, the Internet of Things, so these sensors, and then you can design what you want to be shown, and you use your login, and you already connect your devices with some software. So this is not an app that we develop ourselves. We delegated that back-end part to this company. However, we developed the front-end visual development on web browser ourselves. The second question about what is the usefulness of a 3D map, my humble opinion is the following. If I was working at the municipality, you know, at municipalities typically they have the 3D map of the region that they have, so that they can see as well. And I always like this ISO height maps, but if for this particular project, if we could also put LED lights on the locations, they could immediately see it in their office as they sit. I mean, you can also create a visual map version on it, on Tableau or Power BI, which we are doing, but it would be nice that you can touch and see. I think it's just the niceties that you can touch.
I think it can also be used on other sites.
Yes, I mean, not in this particular city, but certain regions, especially if they have a lot of canyons or valleys, etc., that visualization can also help you understand certain atmospherical events that the carbon dioxide might always be accumulating in the lower parts of the city. I mean, Netherlands is flat. That's a fact. I even had to hype up the 3D model of the city so that it's clear where it is a hill, etc. But it's not as hilly like that. It's actually very flat, just to visually see it better. But in regions where you have little hills or rough geographical situations, it can be important to see that certain neighborhood gets all the gases down, collected, and then if there is also a relation, like if these are poor neighborhoods where the air quality is lower, then there is also a demographic effect of it. So you might want to, you know, as a policy, you might want to give priority to those regions. And I think 3D map might give such a nice comprehension of the situation. Thank you very much for this question. All right, thank you so much once again for the nice questions, and then
thank you to you. So now we can stop for a minute for a coffee break here outside, and then we return back in 30 minutes.
The only constraint we have, but it's not, we have to move out by really serious about that.
Thank you very much.
Around 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think it will be fine. Okay. Thank you very much, Massimiliano, for inviting us here. I'm Daniela, Sani, and I'm here with Caterina Calo, that is my colleagues and friends. We work together for an agency, regional agency that is named Arthur. We are like a sort of operative agency of the Emilia Romagna region on some topics related to innovation, technology transfer, and attractiveness of the territory. So we are at the front of the several things. So we try to anticipate the drivers and the trends in order to do some good policies and put these policies on practice on the ground. So we are talking today about some research and analysis that we did in the region on the circular economy drivers. And this analysis was based on statistical surveys that we made internally as Arthur. The researcher that took this analysis is exactly Caterina Calo, my friend, so I want to give to her the credits of the results of this research. One short introduction regarding the Green Economy Observatory, because this research was made on the context of the Green Economy Observatory, that is a regional observatory on the green transition and the evolution toward the greens of the company. The observatory is in operation in the region since more than 10 years, so we have also a good overview on the time of the changing in the habits of the companies regarding regarding going green. The scope of the observatory is to support the regional policies, because if we are able to investigate and to know exactly what happened in the topic, we can make more effective policies for the companies and for the system, identify the green companies on the region, in the regional territories, so exactly know where they are and what they do, identify the reference driver at the territory and a supply chain lever for, again, the green transition. The observatory does operate in a different ways, not only through statistical analysis that are pretty formal, but also we analyze the case studies, best practice. We arrange a focus group to collect all this information and go with the objectives. Why we do that? First of all, in order to be compliant with the policy of the European Commission, so the policy and the application of the policy on the territory regarding the Green New Deal, understanding, as I said, the dynamic and the drivers of the industrial sector, identify the best project in order to replicate or give the possibility to transfer this best practice in other contexts or in other sector companies, and measure the economic performance. And this one of them, how to measure the economic performance in green transition is let me say, in this moment, really a key factor. What about the survey? So, and the objective of the survey. Basically, we did this investigation for two main reasons. One is to understand the ongoing dynamics in the green transition of the firms, especially regarding the circular economy and the use of renewable energy sources. So we focus these two aspects and identify the needs, because if we know the needs, if we identify well the needs, again, we are more keen in place very effective policies for supporting the just transition of the territory. Regarding the methodology, so the surveys was conducted in the region, so we analyze only the company of the region, and we contact more than 3,000 manufacturing companies, so that's the the target was the manufacturing company. We didn't look at the services or others. And we selected 6 different relevant sectors in terms of GDP, in terms of social impact for the region. And in the sample that we identify, the company were small and medium enterprises, but with at least 10 employees. Because going down these numbers is very difficult to find also the capacity of the company to invest in green transition. We use a formal method, so we use the CAWI method by means of a structured questionnaire of about 40 different questions, some multiple choice, other single answer, as a main source of investigation. But at the same time, we compare, let me say, the results with the 10 direct interviews to 10 selected leading companies of the 6 different sectors, and we pick up these companies according to, yes, the relevance for their sector. And again, we investigated with the direct interviews with the both teams, so the circular economy and the energy sources. The survey took place in between November and December 2021, and so not completely post-pandemic. I think this is very relevant to underline the fact that when we did the surveys, it was in the middle, so we were not in, let me say, in the red area regarding the pandemic, but in any case, it was the period where the company began to operate again and suffer a little bit about the stop that they had. Regarding a very quick details on the selected manufacturing 6 sectors, so the agri-food, automotive, chemical, energy, packaging, and textile. And regarding the questionnaire was divided in 5 main sections, one related to the master contract, the general green company overview, so an outlook global regarding the green company profile, and the question related to the specificity and the dynamics in the companies regarding the circular economy and the energy transition. Two simple, the last 2 parts of the question was dedicated to the COVID pandemic effect and the trends in sustainable investment. The sample responding of the company was around 1,000, so 1/3 of the initial sample, and even though we didn't receive more than the 50% of the answer, we consider representative the sample as well, because the number and the of the company for each of the sector was representative of the sector. You see here the different composition of the responding company from each of the 6 sectors. And you can see that the agri-food and the packaging that are the 2 mains of the region was the more representative also from the sample. The most responding company as expected were small, not so small because, as we said in the methodology, all of them were the number of employees ranged for 10 to 50. And the 53% have a turnover of this responding company from 2 to 10 million euros. And this is quite relevant to underline, because even though they are small, they are not small in terms of turnover and in terms of impact of employability and revenues and social impacts for the region. So this is why we consider the sample representative. Another region regarding the number of responding companies for us is linked to the economic pandemic effect. So we discover, or we suppose, that the fact that the COVID pandemic has had an effect on the company strategy and the economic trends. In fact, if you look at the turnover, most of the company register a decrease in the turnover during the pandemic effect. That is normal, also even in 2021. And only few sectors register an increasing, but most of them register a decreasing. This is why the company were at that time concentrated and focused in trying to, let me say, how to launch again the turnover, launch again the business, and this is why not all the sample responded to the survey. What has been interesting in the general overview regarding the green attitude of these companies was related to the fact that the green companies demonstrated a resilience, were more resilient to COVID pandemic and other stress from the market than the non-green company. This is a trend that we register in the region that is completely aligned to the international trends registered also by other surveys at the international level. The green companies are more resilient to the stress of the market, to the stress like the COVID pandemic, than the non-green transition. And just a while, then I will give you the floor. Even in the difference, let me say, in the economic performance is very, very small. So we are talking about 24% rather than 28%. Yeah. Because I just anticipated this one. So the first question. No, I put the COVID, the effect of the COVID pandemic in order to justify some of the results at the beginning. But indeed, the first question that we put at the company were, do you have some green products or do you sell some green services on the market? And the 42% answered yes. And the 58% answer not yet, so we are going, or definitely no. So we are not, let me say, over the 50%. We suppose a little bit more, but indeed we are on the limit of an average regarding the green one rather to the non-green one. But what could be, in any case, pointed out that there's an increasing tendency in going green in the region that we identify, and even though okay, the COVID pandemic effect during the time. The main sector involved in the green transition were the chemicals and the packaging. That is probably because of some European regulation that pushed the company in going green faster than the other. For example, the so-called SUPA directive, the single-use plastic directive, and so on. But also all the directive in packaging, because we had many different directives regarding the packaging. The other two sectors involved in this transition were the textile and the automotive. This is very good for us because if we look at the action plan, the circular economy action plan, these two sectors, including the other two, are the main ones talked in the directive. So for us, it's very good to have those sectors already on the pipeline. On average, the incidence of the total effect of the green products and services results quite scattered. So if I have to analyze exactly the percentage on the products and services, this percentage is really quite scattered. So in some case, we are talking about the 10% of the products that the offer is oriented to green, and the other case is the 75% of the product that we offer is oriented to the green. So really scattered. Regarding the circular economy practice, I think what the main two points that we pointed out were that first of all, that there is no significant difference in relation to the company size. So we suppose probably the small company were demonstrate less attitude to circular economy than the bigger one. Indeed, it wasn't like that. So we didn't spot a big difference in size in going toward the circular economy. And the second point that also for us it's really important to point out is finally the company overcome the concept that the circular economy is simply taking care of the waste. It's not of the waste, sorry. It's not that. So because when you talk about circular economy at the company, especially the small, they have difficulties in understanding what circular economy is. And in some cases, their answer, oh, it's taking care of my wastes. This is not. This is not the case because we know that the circular economy is much more complex than that. And finally, what we registered that the company ever perceived that. Why we say that? Because if you look at the graph, the main part in doing practices of circular economy in the company is being more efficient in production process and resources. So it's not taking care of the waste, but taking care of the efficiency of the process of production. That means that the concept is going to, is changing, and that is very good for us. And the other is taking care of the energy from renewable resources. Again, is not waste on the main top list of the company. And first of all, also reducing consumption on non-renewable raw material. But going on a quantification and try to quantify the circular economy impacts on the company, we investigate finally the reduction of on the production of the production of process, the amount of wastes. So we did a drill down on the wastes as well, even though we see that it's not the main point, but is the much easier to measure, let me say. So this is why we did a focus on that. And what we obtained that is the number of companies that is reducing the wastes on their production processes is still not the majority, is only the 34%. But I would like to bring your attention regarding to the 27% that declared that they do not produce waste. And for us, that was a quite interesting answer, because what does it mean? It means that you don't have waste at all, but you are a manufacturing company. Or it means that you are started to closing the process, and then you already going to close your process, and in that case, you don't really have wastes out of your production process. But if we look at the number, and the sector more involved on that was again packaging and plastics, as I said, also in this case. But if we look on the processing of the waste, indeed what we see that for the majority of those that declare a reduction, the amount of the reduction is still low. It's more or less than the 10%. So it's very modest. And the majority is going again is still going to recycling and recovery, but a percentage pretty high is still going to disposal, and this is not good. And what about the company make products from recycled materials? And very few of them say yes. And the main categories used for make products from a recycled material was paper and plastics. And again, the main sector came from packaging and chemicals. And again, the percentage of recycled material is in most cases less than the 10%. So the amount, the quantity are still low, even though the process is on the pipeline. We can see that. So the green attitude is ongoing, but the amount is really small. in any different angle that we look at. Also in the case of the recycled material. Are you going to make a product from recycled material? Most of the companies say, not really, not yet, because we face some problems, some gaps. What is important that the technology and the cost are not the barrier. So there's no any more barrier on technology or in the cost of the technology, but the gaps came from the marketplace where to buy the secondary raw material. Are they affordable for buying this secondary raw material? Are these secondary raw material, qualified in terms of certification, characteristic? They have the same characteristic of the virgin materials. Are they labeled in somehow? And this is a key point that is also present in the Circular Economy Action Plan, to provide labeling for the secondary raw material and, let me say, support the creation of this secondary raw material marketplace. Going to energy, so changing the topic, going to energy and about the investment made by the company to reduce energy consumption in the last 3 years, what we got was a results for us a little bit embarrassing, let me say in that way. Because why embarrassing? Because the region, but not only the region, the national level also invests so many in pushing the company in investing in energy saving or energy differentiation. But apparently the company didn't take this chance, because if you look, only the very small amount of company invested in this energy transition. So less than the 50% of them have made investment to reduce the energy consumption. And if we look at the amount of this 50% that have invested in energy saving, how much is the saving? We see that the saving is less again of the 10%. So it's really, really low, this number, especially if we consider the number of the policies, the number of the investment that has been done in this year on the energy in order to, let me say, overcome this problem. And again, regarding the energy, if we ask that the company are self-consuming, so it's auto-production, self-production, and auto-consuming inside the company, or purchasing of energy from energy resources, and in the basically the company will say yes, I would like to do it, but the percentage is not so, let me say, not so high, and the incentive apparently is not a limiting factor in doing that, even though this answer is a little bit contradictory, because when we ask about what is the priority to support the green transition in your company, most of them say that they need incentives. They really need incentive and administrative simplification. Of course, they also need this marketplace to encourage renewable materials and the simplification of the bureaucracy in the adoption of the technology, or maybe in the adoption of other process in their business. Finally, regarding the investment made and on environment, most of the company, this was a multiple choice question. So if you see the bar don't match with the 100%, is because it was a multiple choice answer. In any case, what we realized that the company have clear in their mind, have clear in their business that the green transition is an issue, is an asset for them to be more attractive, to be competitive, and also to reduce the cost inside the company, and they want to do the investment in the green transition. And you see, because the positive answer deal with the green and the yellow bars rather than the light violet. That is, no, no, we are not going to invest we are not going to make investment on environmental benefits. What about the last unanswered question? There is a question that we didn't put on the question, but has become urgency in the last period, in the last 6 months. And because, okay, you are declared that you are going to make investment on environment, but now, are you going to measure the impact on green about your investment? Because this is indeed a request. This is a must, because we know that now we have on the market, we have on the list of the different rules that the company have to follow, the so-called taxonomy regulation that impose to the company the declaration of the environmental impacts, and so this is a new pressure for the company to go in green. So not only the market, not only the consumer, for example, or not only the social impact, but also now the financial impacts due to the pressure of the so-called taxonomy regulation. What is in the taxonomy regulation? In the taxonomy regulation, there are 6 different delegated acts on climate change and environmental benefit, plus 1 related to the social and the governance. And that will modify substantially the ESG, the so-called environmental, social, and governance declaration that some companies are used to do so far. This panorama will change in the future, but is also now changing, because some of the delegated acts has been published and are operative for the company. What is the implication? The implication is the measuring, what I say. Are you going to measure your benefit in doing the investment on green? And there are some difficulties in measuring. We had a chat with Confindustria during the coffee break about how to measure the impact of these investments. And this is a very complicated issue, because we have now different systems of measuring. We have different reporting systems, so there is not a unique point of where company could address or could understand how to measure the environmental impact. And lastly, are all these aspects regarding the taxonomy regulation and the measuring of the environmental impact are going to facilitating the transition, or they are increasing the confusion? Because we have to consider that probably the company are now a little bit confused with all this new regulation. And what we thought is that the green transition is more than the digital one, or at least seems more than the digital one, to put the company in troubles. And this is also because the company are affected by a number of different and continuous change in regulation, in directive, in certification, in labeling. So the panorama of the green is not stable. It's going to change. So for the company, it's very difficult to run over all the changes that they are facing. Instead, in the digitalization, apparently the transition is much more stable, and the company are more conscious of what they have to do in order to be more digitalized rather than in the green one. I think this is all for the report. The report is now published under the website of the observatory, so you can find the report is for free, because we are, as I said, like a public organization, so the report is available for everyone in the website of the observatory. So thank you very much. And Yeah. Yeah. No, not regarding the emission trading, because of the target that we had was more related to, as I said, the small and medium enterprises, small enterprises that are not used to operate on the market of the emission trading. The big are more used to do it around the small. Unexpected, yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. No, okay. That value was, let me say, in bulk, so it was not differentiated. Okay, we have the information per sector, but the one that I presented is in bulk, so we put all together the different sector, and what we measure in is exactly that the one that have declared to be green or to have some product green rather to the ones that have said not at all, were more resilient to the COVID pandemic. And this information matched with another foundation of information that was published by EPSOA that made a more huge investigation and comparison regarding their capacity to be resilient on the market of the green company rather to the non-green. And so it matched perfectly well. So that is an information that is does not come only from us, but also has been investigated at a more international level and is a consolidated results that being green means to be more resilient to the effect of the market. In that case, they analyze not only the pandemic, but in generally the stress of the market. So, yeah, yeah, but another, let me say, another way to see also this aspect, this consideration is also on the fact that if you look at the, I mentioned the taxonomy regulation, and the taxonomy regulation is a pure financial operation. And that operation has been put on the market by the financial because the financing, the private finance, needed to measure in a reliable way the green declaration of the company. Because now the market is going toward the green. All the consumer is going toward the green. So investing in green means investing in long-term perspective. So, so if you invest in something that have the capacity to resist to the climate change, is much more, let me say, safe. Yeah, exactly. Done not. This is why I'm saying this match with the also international investigation. Yeah. Sure.
Hello.
Hello.
I wonder if you asked any questions about the circularity of the products that they're doing.
The circularity of the product?
Yeah, because you told us about the production, but the actual product could be expected to be more circular, to be more subject to renovation, for example. So that's my first question. The other one question is, did you do any correlation studies to find out if certain opinions of corporations were connected to their size, to their ownership structure, to their industry?
Okay, so we presented only few of the results of the questionnaire because we did a selection, so we didn't present. So in any case, we didn't ask the company regarding the circularity of the product. So we look at more at the process and the capacity to put in efficiency the process. And regarding the second question, yes, we have some correlation for the sector, but this information is in the report. So we didn't present the results split per sector, but indeed we have this specification in the report. But in general, what we see that the best results came from the packaging sector and the chemical sector, chemical and plastic sector. Yeah.
Sorry. First of all, thank you, because it's very interesting. Most of all, the taxonomy part, I think it's very actual. But I have a question about the motivation to invest in the green transition. And we saw from the answers that the incentives were the main motivation. Why you don't invest in green transition? No, because we have a lack of incentives. Did I get it right?
Yeah, this is one of the questions that we suppose that the company in this moment are confused. Because from one side say, no, the subsidiaries are not, let me say, a limitation in doing the investment, because we are conscious that we have to do it, and there's an advantages in competitiveness, effectiveness, and so on. On the other side, when we say, what do you think that is good for you for going toward green, they say, oh, we need investment. So this is a little bit, let me say, contradicting, or at the same time, let me say, the company all the time is looking for subsidiaries, let me say, or some public support. And as also, you have to consider that as the question was made by us, and we are linked to the region, it's quite obvious that this transfer is on the top list. But it's not the first one. If we look at the question, or if we look at what we asked 2 or 3 years ago, and maybe my colleagues can confirm that, you had this answer at the top. Now it's not at the top. There's other points that are at the top, rather than I need the investment or the public support for doing that. It's more, let me say, I need a marketplace. That's completely different.
Yeah, and also incentives have proven to be not the best long-term solution to start a green transition. Also, because when the incentives end, so the green transition ends. Indeed, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about maybe also studying other kinds of investments that they are actually doing, maybe some other innovations, and compare them to the green ones, and then make them understand that if they're not choosing that, there should be other motivations. This would be an interesting thing to study.
Yeah, this is what we should do. Having this on our hand, and having shared these results with the regional government, this is exactly what we want to do. Then we will see if we will be able to do that in put in operation the new small specialization strategy. But yeah, we will see in monitoring the results.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, very interesting presentation. Thank you, Enrico. 2 quick questions. First question goes back to my previous question about which are the green firms or non-green firms. It came out that basically you asked these firms whether they have green products or services, correct?
Yes, exactly.
And did you provide them instructions about how to identify green products or services, or you just leave it open? This is question number 1.
Okay.
And question number 2 is whether, given that these firms are located in one region only, and presumably some of them or many of them are co-located or close located one to the other, would it be interesting to detect practices of industrial symbiosis in the circular economy realm? Did you try that? Did you plan to do that?
Okay. So regarding the first question, we provide a guideline to the questionnaire. So and also the guideline was also accompanied by a phone call, because we use also services for helping in doing that. So definitely, I think that we provide to the company a good knowledge of the questionnaire. So I will considerably say yes. So I think they were aware how to answer the question. Regarding the connection of value chain and the supply chain, we have a couple of this, one or two questions on that, going on detail on that, but I didn't put the results here. But you're right, so being connected, being in symbiosis, speed up the process, and as being perceived and a value in doing that by the company. So operating in value chain is for the company, in the circular economy, is a must. Okay, thank you.
Hello, hi everyone. My name is Pietro Mambriani. I work for Confindustria Emilia Romagna, which is the association of the industrial sector here in the region. And we, two couple of words of about us. We represent 5 territorial industrial associations here in the region, and 2 sectorial associations. One is ceramic producers, and the other is builders and constructors. Together with them, we represent 6,300 roughly companies and 320,000. And 320,000 employees. And an interesting fact is 95% of our associate companies have fewer than 50 employees. And of course, we are in the network of national Confindustria, with connected to all the other associations throughout Italy. So what I will do today is taking a little bit more distant approach, more to put in the context of the region and the context of companies' investment, with a focus on sustainability and environmental protection. And I will give you some figures also regarding the energy crisis and how we think it's connected, of course, with investment in general, but particularly also for sustainability investment. So I will present some data from our 2 last investment report, 2021 and 2022, which of course are related to 2020 and 2021. So the first point that I want to highlight here is so our investment report of 2021, of course, focused on the 2020 companies investment of company investment in 2020. So as Daniela said before, it was of course the year of the pandemic, but we found out that 80% of the companies that we interviewed actually made an investment. So made investments. So it's the strong attitude that we find out an industrial sector that had been toward changing with a good strong attitude. The main investment in ICT and education and training, but we in the investment report in 2021 we focused on sustainability, and we did a comparison between 2010 and 2020 and how the companies have changed their investment behavior towards sustainability. So we found out that comparing 2000 to 2010, the investment, the companies that made investment in the last 3 years have tripled. So we see here in the middle, it's the other way around, because the question is, have you made investment in sustainability? So in 2010, 65% said no, and in 2020, 31. So this is a way of saying that companies have embraced sustainability as a strategic point, as also Daniela was pointing out before. And here again, going to the reasons behind investment in sustainability. Again, predominantly now it's on a voluntary basis, and it's less and less related to incentives. But probably here the answer is different because we compare 2010 to 2020. So the landscape, of course, public policy landscape of incentives has really changed. So here, cost reduction also strategy, as I said before, is one of the main reasons. Cost reduction and also a reputation towards suppliers and customers. And of course, this is related to the changes that we are living now in society and behavior of consumers. Going on, looking at economic reason for companies to invest in sustainability. Here again, the blue line in the middle, or dark green, whatever, it's 2010. So you see the cost reduction was already we're talking about economic reasons. So cost reduction was already an important point. But then in 2020, all the other reasons grow proportionally. So they are all important to companies when it comes to sustainability. So again, this I think brings us back to the strategy point, because it's more a broad approach. So this is what I wanted to give you for 2021. In 2022, again, our report found out that the environmental protection is not the top 4 area of investment for companies, but the attitude is kind of still the same of the last year. Again, 88% of companies have made an investment in 2021. What do we mean by environmental protection? Because before, I forgot to say, sustainability was in a broader sense. It was environmental sustainability, but also social sustainability. So it was in a broader sense. Here, environmental protection is more strict. So here it's action related to energy consumption, control of energy consumption, circular economy, monitor of the pollution emission, and water consumption. And here again, we touched upon some of you made a question on the company size. What we see in our report. But first, I have to say, small, medium, and large for us, as you've noticed before, that like 90% of our associates are less than 50 employees. For small, we count from 1 to 49, and then from 50 to 250. That is the medium, and then above 250. So here, SMEs and big companies, so the high end of SMEs, 50 plus, let's say, have a similar investment strategy. You can see here, basically everywhere except research and innovation and IT. So the green is the medium, and the light blue is the large. And small companies are lagging behind, basically in every area, except for training and skills. But if we look at environmental protection, that is the biggest difference between big companies and medium and large companies and small companies. So here, all the reasons that we can think of: structure, financial reason, credit reason, training and skills. So human resources, finding people with skill to implement sustainability and environmental policies and processes and products. Okay, this is another important point that we want to highlight to you. This is the comparison between 2021 and the planned investment for this year, 2022. We can see that regarding the area of environmental protection, there is the biggest, let's say, jump between 2021 and 2022. So more than 7% in intention of investment in environmental protection by companies. These are all companies, small, medium, and big companies. Okay, so basically, the message here is that our industrial system of the region is strong, have invested even during the pandemic, and is investing also now, and is planning to invest. That the attitude towards sustainability regarding the investment strategies has changed from 2010 to 2020, and that again, sustainability is in all the investment policies of companies. But we are, again, to put this in a context of today, we are in a bit of a difficult situation. So we picked up one trend and one uncertainty that we think it's connected to investment, and it is really important to deal with. So the trend is the energy crisis. Okay, so we analyzed the regional energetic mix, and we see here that the gross power of electric generation plants in the region comes from 70% thermoelectric. Hydroelectric is stable, yes. So it's the hydroelectric. It's the gray, the one at the bottom, and that photovoltaic is at 15%. So here, mainly, this is an important number because the national average is 35 around. So we are a little bit lower the national average, and we feel that this number came from it's coming from. Non si sente una casa? Ah, ok. Meglio? Okay, super, grazie. I was saying that the photovoltaic, yes, the 15% of photovoltaic energy is due to regional legislation and territorial planning that are kind of intertwined, and then they make an explosive mix, as we can say. So to probably a lot of investment and planned investment for companies is going to stop because of this regulation. So here here's the consequence of what I've told you before in the slide before. We came up with a number: more than 80% of energy consumption in the industrial sector is depending on natural gas. So the point is here that with the crisis that we are in now, the natural gas price is, of course, a big problem if we look at the 80% number. And so here, I know that you all know the numbers and the price and everything, but we wanted to put it here so we can look at the difference. Because if we see 2019, 900 million euros, that is what the industrial sector paid for the cost of energy. So gas and electric. I think the price was 20 euro kind of. Then at the end of 2021 was 120 the price of gas, and here we see 4 billion. And then this is the worst case scenario for 2022 related to the peak price of this year. So this is the figure. This is the amount of money that the company are paying for the energy bill, basically. Yes. Yeah. No. This is the cost and related to consumption. And yeah. No. That is out of the picture. So again, the takeaway here is that sustainability, circular economy, and everything that we are doing here is really important. But now this is with this situation, it is impossible to concentrate on the environmental sustainability and really achieve it. Okay, so we are talking with companies, and a lot of them, because the thing is that it's there is the sorry, no, I'm going. The companies are telling us, yes, we have orders, the economy outlook is good, but the energy crisis is shutting us down. So a lot of companies, they told us, yes, we prefer to fulfill the orders, to continue working, even if we're not making profit or we lose, because otherwise they will lose the market share. The market share at the end of the energy crisis will be difficult to regain. So it's the situation, and you can see it here. We're going now to the uncertainty. Energy crisis was the trend. The uncertainty, we find the investment barriers. You see the investment barriers. The market demand is the lowest. So market is going, but the energy crisis is really biting. Investment barriers. The first two are human resources and administrative burden. Human resources meaning find skilled people for implement the process in sustainability, environmental, digitalization, and so on and so forth. You spoke about administrative burden yourself, so this is a big point for us. And I wanted to okay, maybe proposal and recommendation. It's a bit too it's a bit too high as a title, but just 4 point of discussion. 4 point on which we are working on with our colleagues in Arter and with the region of Emilia Romagna, and these 4 investment policies. Here we are talking about public investments, of course, incentives that for energy efficiency and decarbonization. Of course, we all know that sustainability is one of the 2 pillars around which the national program, the recovery plan, European Commission structural funds, and the regional funds consequently are built. So it's just a reminder. It's just a point of making this the most efficient most efficient investment. The second point, green technologies. Here it's the new technologies of digitalization, but not only digitalization. This is the center of the smart specialization strategy of the Emilia Romagna, and here the thing I can say is that it is important for us to work with the high technology network that is here in Emilia Romagna, and in an efficient way, and promote the collaboration of high technology network. This is one of course part of the network and companies. The third point, regulatory framework, again, simple with uniform application and interpretation. It doesn't have to be the regulatory. If it's if it's put a stop, if it's a halt, if it's a barrier to companies for planning a medium-term investments, that is a problem. And then the last point, power generation plants for renewable sources. We saw the 15%, so probably this is connected to all the other 3 points: investment, technology, and a regulatory framework. But we think that this is a really important point, and could help us from one side to try to come out from the energy crisis, and from the other side, let's not forget that there are very important targets to work for the realization of the European level, national level, and of course at regional level. So these are like four points that I wanted to leave you with, point of discussion and a point of interest. Thank you. If you have any questions. Questa è una funzione. Non sapevo che era acceso.
First of all, thanks for presenting this data, because for us it's a confirmation that also that the answer that we got from the company are really aligned with yours, and consider that you are in close connection with the company. That is a good good feedback for us. So it's thanks for presenting the data. And I have a question regarding the energy factor, and because yes, that is linked to that slide, but it's more like a consideration, because what we pointed out that indeed the company didn't invest so much in the former years in energy, in differentiation in energy sources. So they didn't invest in. Yes, we did a little bit of efficiencies in the production system, but not in a very sensitive way, because we saw that only the 10% of saving they did, and a few number of companies made really an investment in that. So what is your opinion on this point? So regarding respect to the trend in the energy crisis that you pointed out, why is it for you happened that?
I think now, yes. So two reasons. Probably the data that we find out, as I said at the beginning, the 3 times more investment in sustainability are a little bit different from yours, because you went deep into circular economy, and very specifically, we took it a little bit more, let's say, from a little bit more general, and also again, it's the comparison from 2010 to 2020. The other thing is, I think the company size is important, whereas like small companies are really in a difficult position when it comes to implementing new products or new processes that are related to sustainability, to environmental protection, and so on and so forth. So I think these are maybe the point, 2 reasons why.
Yeah, I was really interested about 2 parallel information. One is that the energy crisis that we saw that, a lot of Europe. At the same time, you said something on decision to invest between 2021 and 2022. And you said that environmental protection is rising in those 2 years.
Yeah.
So I want just to be provocative in a way. I remember a famous phrase from Professor Massimiliano Mazzanti. It was saying the main determinant of decarbonization are wars. The main determinant of decarbonization are wars, in a provocative way, of course, because energy prices goes up, and from one point of view, that means that industries can take radical changes on their energy mix because of the high price. So this is just to contextualize the fact that energy prices are rising, and environmental protection investment too. So what is your opinion? What is your comment on this scenario? What do you think about it?
I think this is the percentage of companies that would invest in the area. So it's the biggest difference, but I believe that again, in the energy crisis, the gas price, it is a problem because all the effort and all the economic instrument that a company have now is towards that trying to solve the problem, to come out of that problem. But there are some companies that, as you can see, as you said, they are also trying to come out of the dependence of gas. So they're trying to solve the problem from the start. Exactly. Yeah. But only few of them can do it because it's if you take for example and small medium companies that have the bills have like 10-fold from last year. That is, even if they have planned some investment, then it's just there in the corner now. So,
but of course, dimension is important. So.
Yeah. Oh, of course it is. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, thought-provoking presentation. So, you just mentioned that economic sustainability is very important for environmental sustainability. Is it really true that because what I believe in sustainability, the term sustainability is a kind of another part, business strategy. I think it's a kind of false dream to promote the environmental sustainability. So why do you think that it's very important, economic sustainability is very important for the environmental sustainability? We are talking about the growth, the development. So the more we have investments for growth, the more we have environmental degradations. But we are talking about different things. In your case, why do you think that?
If I understand correctly, you mean that the environmental sustainability and economic sustainability are different things, right? That's what you said. Well, it is. I mean, the energy crisis just told us that, because if you have investment planned for the next 4 years in a new product line, which is more effective, which is wasting less, I don't know, water or whatever, then you have to put a stop to it now, because energy crisis is sucking up all your sources or your economic sources, because this is not a normal. These numbers are normal. They're not normal, and the other thing is that the energy crisis didn't come in 1 second. I mean, if you see 2021 compared to 2019, I mean, energy bill was already like 5 times, right? So now we see the worst part of that. So without the reassurance and that you can work in a let's say average economic scenario, then you're not allowed to plan medium-term investments in sustainability, but also environmental, but also digitalization and everything else.
Just a very short comment. The first one is I heard something about the fact that the energy crisis will be somehow mitigated. I heard Cingolani saying something about special contracts at lower prices, so I don't think this will be the result in the end.
But this is the worst case scenario.
Okay.
So but only for 2022. Huh? Okay. 2021 was already paid.
Yeah, I know.
It's paid. That is paid. So.
But just also support what was said before. I know I understand everything. I understand that there is environmental sustainability is up without economic sustainability. but let's not make it reasoning like, okay, we have the energy crisis, so we will not invest in renewable energy because that will not work, at least from our academy side.
No. That was not the takeaway. The takeaway was the energy crisis has to be solved quickly. That's it.
Okay.
But because so that all the investment, even in environmental and sustainability, that the companies have planned, they can go on and go and be done. Okay. That's the point.
So we're on the same page.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wasn't saying that we are energy crisis. We forgot about sustainability. That's not the point. Okay. Exactly. Okay. Grazie.
Cosa? Parlo qua? Thanks. Thanks to the presenters. Trying to be short. Then just to say that we have food outside, so when you move, you're not to waste food. Grab. Because these are the problem, food waste. So let's avoid food waste. So thanks. I try to be as quick as possible. It's close to 6. I'm starting sharing with you. I'm pretty obsessed with this report because it's a big effort we had, and it's basically the conceptual framework I'm also offering to students in terms of textbook. It was a long journey for 2019 with the agency, collaborating with other partners and seeds, and we are really happy about this publication that we have. If you wander around the European Environment Agency website with other reports we published in 2020-21. But to say what? To say that this is the framework, the simple one we proposed to the Commission, proposed to the fact that we have to have different transitions interconnected. I'm picking up one comment. I'm not criticizing Confindustria, sorry, but just interacting. I don't really think that in terms of narrative saying that economic sustainability versus environmental, I could reverse the fact that you need environmental sustainability in order to have economic sustainability. I'm saying this because now that I'm 50, I have a bit of history, and remember that the big efficiency gains we had in the 80s were because of wars. Okay, the Israeli war, 72, when I was born, and then the Iranian Revolution, oil shocks, and the 80s, Northern Europe especially, had big efficiency gains. Okay? Also between Western Europe and Eastern Europe, 10 to 1 in terms of. After that, we had policies. So it's also a message, optimistic message. Now we have a water crisis. Maybe we're going to have policies in the next decade because we have the Rio Convention, the Kyoto Protocol, just as after the fall. Then I have to say this, and then I stop. I understand the big energy crisis and the big peaks today. On the one hand, to me, are a bit of an accumulation of what we didn't do in the past. Because if you talk to people in general, in firms, in policymakers, I'm 10 years ago, 15 years ago, saying climate change is there. Okay, the reply was not really, okay, we have to do that. Okay, and then you have the recession in 2009, the recession in 2001, and you have the pandemic crisis. I'm not saying those are excuses. I'm just saying that you have always delayed that, and then you are now less
you are not so ready to tackle the challenge. That's an issue. Okay, I've said that because yeah, okay, but even today I was interviewed. Sorry if I've shared you last weekend. Today is the economy, and then the environment can wait. Well, no, because I could say it's vice versa. But this is to say that we have the system. It is difficult because it's for policymakers, for friends, it's very difficult. I'm not saying it's very, very, very difficult, but it's like that. Just to say something to policymakers, which is really not maybe optimistic. I don't know if you know that in the aging society, this is really, I would say, unthinkable. Italy and Germany, for example. Okay, in 20 years time, I don't know, in the Netherlands, the birth of Italy, we are going to have, ISTAT, the statistical agency, just published a very, very good report. Italy in 2040-45 is going to have 49 million people out of 9 billions. Okay, Nigeria is going to be 800 billions, just Nigeria. Italy 49. Okay, one thing. So then pension people retire on workers 3 to 1, 4 to 1, which is absolutely not. You cannot fund with one worker 4 pensioners. It's impossible, even 3. So I don't have an answer, but just to say that we are going to challenge that type of situation as well, and you should think about it today. I don't think we're going to think about it today, but we know the numbers. We do the numbers today as we knew in 1998, 1992, that climate change was an issue. Okay, so stop by saying that today, and I'm not naive, or let's say that today I think that we have to answer the question: is climate change or not? We believe in climate change, going back to 2005 and onward, and fair enough. Discuss it, because if we believe it is true, we have one direction. People say climate change is not such an issue. Okay? Then go in another direction. But, sorry, but I think it's important to be frank and transparent about these things. So innovation, because we're talking about innovation, and Italy is in innovative, but we're talking about Italy here. Innovation is a key issue. We have come across different figures. This is Mid-European figure. So Italy is performing better in 8 innovation terms compared to innovation in strict sense. But let's say that the survey, it is Italian as well. Sorry, but we were here in 2019, December, at the beginning of this journey. Okay, we didn't have the data. Now we have the data. The important point is the dynamic structure of the data we collected. Some data are, we share data, so with researchers, with institutions, as I always said. So, so we have a dynamic observation of what happened in relation to SMEs and green innovations in general. So I'm not skipping, but just sharing with you that the questionnaire is very big. So for students who have used the questionnaire for master thesis, researchers, institutions, we may set a deal in terms of how to use this data, and absolutely for public use. Okay. Also, we have a bioeconomy section in the second wave. It's just a section of bioeconomy, but we have a section we are working on. So those are the items we have scrutinized. Okay, so let's play with those information and contact us, Lisa, Amy, David, and Tonali, the owners. I don't have the firms, yeah, small medium enterprises, Italian manufacturing, medium low tech, well, export oriented. Here you see, I'm just sharing some dynamic. We just received the 2019-20 second wave, which includes the 20,000 contingency, but this is empirical research. So we defined the survey before, I mean, the pandemic crisis. It's also an interesting point today. Industry 4, this is one of the items or situations where SMEs declare to have increased the please correct me if I'm wrong because you're something. Yes. Yeah. R&D, which is another big topic in Europe and Italy worldwide, with places like South Korea who have heavily invested in going beyond 4% of GDP. Here, the situation is, remember, that small medium enterprises, so the picture is this one. We find the unusual kind of correlation, given that R&D is the main driver, even if for SMEs R&D is not maybe the key driver, and other non-codified or types of innovation drivers are around. We are also investigating the correlation between innovations and skills and competencies, so the training side and here we don't deal with green jobs, but skills and competencies are another very important research agenda. We have people, I can mention Nicola Barbieri and Giovanni Marin, who has worked a lot on those stuff. Giovanni was also mentioned, so because it was my graduate by Joe Biden in New York Times for the paper, because the paper is an NDR working paper, so it was. Okay, here to the government or a government. Very simply, I have shared years this fact. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe R&D is not the only. It's not the key driver, but Italy is now 1.4, 1.5, okay, increasing a bit over the past years. 1.5 is 1.5. The Lisbon agenda tells 3. South Korea is 4.3. Okay. So one could think this is relevant or not, but one possible objective is reaching 3% in 5 years, 7 years. But it's easy. 0.2 per year, and you set up an investment plan, public-private, towards 3%. You see that it's not just Italy, which is not compliant with. You see Europe as a whole, which is not compliant with its own Lisbon agenda. Okay. Outliers, Sweden, Germany, and the usual suspect. Okay, so this is something we should always recall. This is the main picture of our effort. High, low, I don't know. This is a transition picture. So with a decrease obvious during 2020 in the second wave. You see again a policy mix, so you don't really, but it's climate change. So it's again obvious that SMEs have difficulties in coping with climate change more than other environmental challenges. But okay, here's a picture I give to policymakers and researchers. So, important. Again, we have today looked at different surveys. We have an ongoing observatory of data to have empirical evidence on innovations, different types of innovation, not just ecological innovations. Okay, the other point, and maybe I stop with this because other two messages. I mean, the other obsession I have is geography. Obsession also research agenda we have. Okay. And geography means regional heterogeneity, country heterogeneity, and within Emilia Romagna we may we're just discussing with the other universities for the new project about going deep into the province and municipalities to understand the lights, but also the black areas and the forgotten territories. Okay? This is the term that is using. Italy. Yeah, the map is very macroeconomic. We can go. This is relevant to understand what? To understand a very key thing, whether we converge or diverge. I don't have to say to you the importance even in political terms. Too trivial. Okay. Brexit and all the other stuff is just a matter of divergences. Okay. That election by election we concretely perceive. City areas, neighborhood peripheries, rural areas. So this is the picture. So it seems that first the south lower, but believe me, you don't have data yet, not very low. So the south is not lost, okay, in terms of circular economy innovations. Second, you have this decrease, okay, and the two areas with Lombardy. Lombardy is today maybe, we can say, because we are in the middle of Romagna this year, the very European region in Italy, but I'm saying it, okay. Milan is something very different in economic terms, connection to the global dimension, and you see that in terms of even different structure in terms of size of firms, maybe that you could investigate and investigate. Veneto as well, a very productive area. Emilia Romagna. So in the first picture, you have in the three industrial regions very committed and ready to a circular economy. Emilia seems to lose a bit the situation. Okay. I want to cite another. Nicola is not here today. He's going to be tomorrow, I guess. This very nice paper they just published. You can download on European regions. Again, the geographical main dimension. We're using different methodologies and data because we are at European level. So they find again that the south is not south of Italy, and south is not so disconnected in terms of innovation capacity. Which is second point, that the green economy, what we say trivial, is largely based on the brown economy in terms of technological inertia or in terms of evolution of the technological pattern. Okay, so, which again is very important for Emilia Romagna. Thanks again, and see you soon. Ciao. very important for areas like Venice and Emilia Romagna, which are very heavy. When the key issue is we are very heavy in terms of specializations, automotive, even food. If you focus on the entire value chain, not just the final impact. And then we have ceramics, and then we have all the stuff which is very, very heavy, but also very novel. But again, this is the usual story about the possible compensation to innovations of this heaviness. Okay. But this is another fact they find through a green technological potential. So the South again, nice message I think to reflect upon, given the vertices that we all know, and these brown-green type of connections that also normal because the evolution of economic systems is also characterized by that. Finally, I want to share with you, and again, you can also download, everything is downloadable, the report, the paper by Nicola and others, and also the film report. Film, why? Because we had a project from the foundation and Enrico, so the papers and the reports are published by film. We have Claudia here, who's going to present the paper, and another paper Davide is going to present as well as the surveys. This is a first paper which analyzes the returns of data we had in the first wave from some economic performances. Short-term oriented, because so in the short term, again, you could say trivial as well. We don't really find very big and significant correlations, okay, to highlight and flag. So, please correct me if I'm wrong, but okay, that's the spirit of the situation. Okay. So here, the second step is to analyze the effects, maybe in the medium long run. But this is the first effort to use the data we had integrated with the economic effects. Okay. Those are the reports behind the working paper, again, just to share with you this research agenda on circular economy, bioeconomy, and all this stuff. Okay, I'm pretty done. I just share final slide. Is more to again to share with you another nice project I'm really proud of. We have Asia who's going to be with us, and Emi is another. We have this project. The key question is: are cooperatives different? Why cooperatives? Because this region, it's also grew up in the land of red cooperatives. Okay, set up in the 1946-47, just after the Second World War. So you have Imola. I don't know if you know Imola. Imola is the land of cooperatives, and some of them. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about small ones, but the cooperatives in Imola, just citing two. They're very famous. So Sacmi and Cefla, turnovers of about 2 billions and 2 billions. Okay, so are those type of firms different in terms of social, environmental, sustainability, or not? Because this is a question. Okay, given that they compete with other profit firms and global markets, and they should be, because they have different type of management structure. They care about workers. They have workers as members. Okay, the workers receive the payoffs of so this is even the provocative question: are cooperatives different kind of things, or just normal profit firms with a different type of objective? Okay, they don't run profits But and we are working with Lekakop and other universities on that. We have collected data thanks to Lekakop as well. So there's a nice website you can click and find. So this I think all for my side, and it's also 6:15, so we have 10 minutes to
what you're saying is sustainability and the usual economy are moving forward or moving backward anyway. Then when you are checking the eco-innovation or environmental innovations compared to the usual conventional innovation or productivity, they are moving together. Like northern part of Italy is move ahead, southern part I'm not so sure. But you are in the same time you are talking about product and process innovations. So since the environment and the economy move together, that means ESG, environment, social governance, ESG standards are moving ahead, such as taxonomy or European Union guideline, restrict the company's activity. So which basically means that the more the market comes in, the demand for the sustainability move up. So ESGs makes a company to make toward more process, product innovation for sustainability or ESG. Then northern part of Italy move ahead because there are more market demand. But southern part maybe in the develop in a different way, such as utilizing the more agricultural farm or other issues. So basically, that's what you're saying is what I want to ask is just make them to do whatever they want, not government restrict north compared to south or east compared to west, utilizing what the company stay there, more agriculture or fishery or service, manufacturing, wherever, whatever they are, they do utilize by themselves. So make them to decide, not the government decide. Then in the end, it's in the good enough or not good enough. All are moving ahead toward the sustainability, so that's okay. Is this something that you want to say? So market is fine. Well, is that something you want to say more? That is not true, and south compared to north should be doing differently.
Okay. I'm showing just one slide to put in my Alessandro mentioned UTS price, another. One method could be when we deal with energy and climate change. First, you have historical policies going back to the 80s and 80s, not back to the 90s. You have targets, and you have something like that. I mean, the friends from Confindustria are not here, but I have a debate with them. This European directive was implemented because, at least in Europe, we didn't accept or want carbon tax in the late 90s. Now we are not very happy with the financial market like this because you see it's a financial market, and again, people don't know about that. While you say impose a carbon tax, people react, no, people want a tax, but now you pay when you take flight, you pay and you don't know.
because it's more subtle. Okay? But we have targets, we have policies, and we have more specific sectors, 4, 5, 6, okay, that cover 50, 65% of the story. Okay? Then we also need policies for households, and but the core of climate change is, at least in this first part, is covered by big industries, energy, and we are obviously clear. So also more heterogeneity, because it depends on whether you are specialized or not, if you have steel or not in a region, for example. This could create more divergences or create the fact that the climate change is in terms of business effects, is really concentrated on not a limited, but number of sectors, okay, which are the sectors covered by European emission trading, for example, chemical manufacturing, steel, ceramics, aviation, like that. Okay. You may be happy with that, at least so far. The circular economy, so you don't have targets. You don't have a target like resource productivity decreased every year by 2%. Okay. You have waste targets, waste policies, which are, I mean, the backbone, but not specific circular economy strategies. Okay? So waste policies are behind the circular economy. Without waste policies, we don't have a circular economy. Without landfill bans or reduction of landfills, without incineration directive 22 years ago, okay? Without the packaging directive 3-4 waves, without recovery, recycling, without circular economy. Okay? But you don't have a policy in the target. You have a circular economy strategy, okay, which is eco-design, reducing waste, okay, but it's not really something binding in terms of policies. This is the first point. Second point, the circular economy is linked to decarbonization, but it's more something about incremental innovations, even small innovations, okay, rethinking products, going back maybe to old stuff of doing things. So it's more, it's characterizing more small medium enterprises, okay? So the way of the knowledge of doing things, of changing things, okay? That's why maybe this is why in my opinion, you don't observe a very, very radical divergence between Northern Italy and Southern Italy, because it's something more diffused, more, which is an optimistic type of view, okay, in terms of convergence and development, okay, because it's made of very different innovations, incremental, radical, process, product, okay, organizational, cooperation between firms, creation of networks. That's my opinion. So even if I stress the fact that we need to link, because otherwise we create even cognitive niches, circular economy here, decarbonization there. So everything is systemic. Having said that, the type of firms and the type of policies you have on the climate change side are different compared to the type of firms and policies you have in the circular economy, bioeconomy, reality. For example, you mentioned agri-food, I guess, which is very important in this region, for example. We have a PhD student working with an agri-food company producing fresh fruits and snacks out of legumes, working on the production of renewables out of biomass that's linked to the territory, using local stuff. So it's that type of small, medium enterprises and local situations that you may find in the biocircular economy. Since we have one, that if you can check, people are are angry.
I have a quick question. You know, I presented as a researcher, but my question is as a business, especially because towards the end you show this paper, working paper. There you say companies, business with circular economy model, in the short run they gain economic returns, but in the long run, or they also, in the short run, they may have economic returns, but they also incur higher cost of production, which is which is the case when we think of switching from one material to another. For instance, let me explain this ABS, this plastic thing. It will probably cost €0.50, but we switch to a material that costs €5. Now, the material that has no microplastic in it will cost 4 times what is already costing with the regular biodegradable. My question is, do you have any insight in terms of long run?
No, because of the.
I'm asking from
No.
What's going to happen?
It's a common research agenda we can set up together in the sense that no, because we just collect the data and we just last year or even this year merged the data with economic accounts. So the issue is to move on constructing data sets to observe the effects on medium long run performances, which is not easy, but it's a thing. The risk with microeconomic research and business research, as you know, is to focus too much on the short run because of the data you have. So one issue is, one option is to go from from one short term to another short term. So I have different pictures. The other is to use the bulk of data and merge with economic accounts period by period to construct different type of temporal hypotheses. So another trivial thing that in the short run it's difficult to find economic, very significant economic effects. Again, I think with that, if you have environmental benefits and the economic effects are zero, this is still a social positive effect at the end. So it depends if you have focus on the firm or focus on society. So that's the stuff. Okay, thanks a lot. I think we have to move.